All right, Owen, what's up, man?
Not much. Excited to sit down today.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. We've known each other for a bit. We live in the same building, but I've always seen you were doing some cool stuff, especially on social media. I don't see you out on runs and stuff, but I wanted to actually get to know a little bit more about you, and this is just a good opportunity too.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah. So this is Owen Nurminen.
Correct. Perfect.
He is a digital creator and consultant in the influencer marketing space with over 150,000 followers across all social media platforms. And then can you remind me, how old are you?
I'm 26.
That's awesome, man. So 26, and that's why I wanted to meet with you, because I'm big into like young people that chose to not just be average and take a middle income job or something like that. They wanted to make something completely different about themselves. That's what I'm all about. So you're way ahead of other 26-year-olds at this point, and yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I appreciate it.
So right now you got Influencer Insider. You mentor creators to help monetize their social media presence. So they might already have social media presence, but they're like, how do I make money with this? So that's cool. And then you offer coaching, you secure brand deals, and you also just help them make even more engaging content, which is really cool. It's something that I'm working on right now too. So, but just tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, you're from OC, Orange County, and tell me about what led from childhood to high school, college. What led you to wanting to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I don't know if there's ever a time where I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I feel like the earliest kind of flash I had in my head was I could picture myself like with a big office environment. And when I went to the WAP headquarters, I actually thought to myself, like, this is pretty much what it looked like. So I didn't know if I'd be fully leading it, but I knew like I would be heavily involved in it. But yeah, from Orange County, Dana Point. I grew up there. My parents split when I was like 6. My brother is disabled. He has autism and Down syndrome. So, and my mom, single mom, 1 kid disabled, and then me. And my brother's older. So, you get to see all that stuff, and I think you become a little bit more sentient when there's like a need for things more. And so I feel like I was younger and having like legitimate conversations with my mom. Why don't we have these things? Like, what's going on? Like, what, like that kind of thing. And I'd go to my dad's house on weekends I had with him, and my dad's friends were wealthy. They still are. They have massive homes in Newport, things like that. And I'd be like, but my dad, when he divorced my mom and they divorced each other, we'd go couch surf. Like, we'd stay on one friend's couch one night, and then, next week it'd be a different place. And I remember just being like, why do these guys have massive homes, but, we don't really have that? In fact, we don't have a home. Like, what's going on? So that kind of put me on to like the accountability aspect of what you have to do in life in order to have that. And so I think I was really driven at a young age from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. What age did that divorce kind of happen?
I was 6.
Okay, 6, so really young. And then growing up, did you play any sports? Did you do any extracurriculars in school and stuff?
Yeah, so I played pretty much every sport, excluding like hockey. I played football a little bit, soccer, baseball, no tennis or anything, but basketball was actually the sport that I decided to play in high school. And I picked it up in like 7th grade because after I played soccer and baseball, I was like, it's just not that fun. Basketball is so fun. So my goal was like, all right, well, I'm going to make it out. I'm going to go play professional, probably overseas, trying to be a little realistic, which is not even a good thing to be realistic sometimes. But I was like, I'll play in Finland or something, make my $200-300K a year and like have a good life. But yeah, I mean, that's where I started, I guess.
What ended that? Injury or just?
Yeah. So I played junior college in Southern California and I broke my back. I had an L5 pars defect. And so I was like, damn, well, I guess basketball's done. So then I went and like the same day I got my MRI result back, I went and bought a computer to start playing Fortnite because it had just came out. It was like 2018.
Nice. Yeah.
Early or late 2017. So I'm like, all right, if I'm going to be bedridden for a year, I'm going to become a professional gamer because I always played them growing up. I was always really good, like, BO2, League Play, Destiny. I didn't really play CS or anything, but like those types of games. So when Fortnite came out, I taught myself mouse and keyboard. And then at the end of that year, 2018, I became a pro. I had my first pro event, and that's how I kind of got into the online money world. And then at the same time, I started going to Clemson as well. So, but then I didn't care about school because I'm like, all right, I'm watching people make $1 million a year, which then was crazy. Now we know like the scale is much higher than that. But
You mean with online gaming?
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting. I asked about the sports because I knew you were really good at basketball, but I feel like people that go and try to achieve like a bunch of success, they're usually good at something before, like they have a track record. So I always, like I interview salespeople all the time. And one of the number one questions I ask is, what sports did you play? Were you good at them? And a lot of times when we get like the captains of their like football team or basketball team, they end up being pretty good at sales too. But you'll also find that some really good athletes, they end up not really doing much with it after that, but they have the ability and skills to. It's almost like they just need to find where they need to be. They need to get the right vehicle, and someone needs to help them with that. And a lot of times they kill it. But so that's interesting. And then you went into gaming and you wanted to take that to the top. So you just kind of take things, you become obsessive over them, and you want to be the best in the world at them.
Yeah, it's like I call it the gamer gene. And so when I went to WAP at their HQ, a few of those guys, pretty much anyone I talked to that was massively successful, they were addicted to video games at one point. And I think it's that same like addiction thing of being obsessed that leads to an outwards like outcome. You know, if you're not obsessed, you can be really good at something. I don't think it translates.
Yeah.
You know, like you're always going to get beat by someone that just cares more.
It's obsessed, yeah. Do you know Grant Cardone? You a fan of him? Yeah. He's very controversial, but he had this book called Be Obsessed or Be Average. And it's like, you know, we teach our kids to not be obsessed with the little toys and video games or whatever, but obsession is a good thing as long as it's in the right things. That's kind of what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I 100% believe that. I actually believe it's good to be obsessed in anything that can have a good outcome for you. So if you're like an artist and you're super obsessed, and I would say go fully into that and just be poor for a bit, you know, like keep your expenses really low, maybe like have a job so that you have some income. But if you really love art, then you're going to beat everyone on a long enough horizon and you're not going to stop, which most people, I think it's a stopping issue to success than more than like almost anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And college, how did that go for you? Because Clemson is a crazy school. Did you get into the craziness of it ever, or you just kind of stayed straight and narrow?
I remember when my first year there, it was 2019. So I came in the winter. So I came right after that pro event, my first one in California. And so I drove across the country. And then in January of 2019, I think Trevor Lawrence and Clemson we're going to win the national title that night. And I was just practicing. Like I was like editing on Fortnite, like just trying to improve. And my roommate was like, bro, like, are you going to come downtown? He was going to be crazy. Like we had the game. And I was like, not like, no, like I really like, I'd like to get a better placement in this tournament coming up. You know what I mean? So no, I never got into partying. I've never drank or smoke or anything like that. I just, it doesn't make sense to really. Like, I don't know. People say it's more fun, but like, I don't even have that much fun unless I'm like achieving. That's when I feel like, oh, that was great. You know, otherwise it's like, that's not fun.
Yeah, I totally get it. Did something happen that caused that, do you think? Like, did you go and drink one time and say this, I don't like this, or you just never connected with you?
Yeah. I mean, when I was young, like my dad would drink a lot. And so I think like the smell of it just really turned me off to it young. And then, I was trying to think of people that I like looked up to that like drank a lot, and I couldn't really imagine any. So I just never got into it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I ask about that because part of like with me, I went to college. I had way too good of a time. So after a year of failing every single class, I dropped out, and that's kind of what led me to my part of the journey. So it's like kind of like two different things. So you're making, I heard you make about $75K per month in the content business, somewhere around there. So that must be crazy as a 26-year-old. Do you compare that to any of your friends that you grew up with? Do they hit you up and say, what are you doing, man? Do you get any hate like online or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different questions out there, but yeah, I think, I mean, I guess it's good income wise, but you know, yeah, you can do the comparison thing, but ultimately I believe you should be comparing internally about what, like, for instance, if I have a checklist, I don't do it, and that means I don't feel good about it, versus like, you know, I'm a co-founder on this new app called Neuro. And, you know, one of our founders does like 20 mil a year. And so it's like, with all of his apps. And so it's like, do I compare myself to him? Like, not really. You know, that part doesn't matter to me. And there's so many different income levels. It's more my identity. And I've given up a lot to be successful. Like I said no to so many things, but you know, I will say yes to hanging out with my girlfriend, you know, versus a lot of guys just won't do that in their 20s that, you know, so like, how can you compete or expect to make 20 million if you're not doing what they do? So it's kind of that, you know, I try not to compare myself just because there's my end goal, my North Star is a little bit different than constant work nonstop for my entire 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I see it, I mean, 75K a month, I can tell you're not like, yeah, this is it. I've reached it. But when I see 26 years old and we're going to be, I believe you'll be in this game till you're, maybe till you're dead. You might never stop, but yeah, when you're 50, where are you going to be? 60. So that's how I kind of see it. I think it's really impressive. And I'm interested to see in 5 years, 10 years, where you've gone, where I've gone. I love that we have, as younger entrepreneurs, a huge runway that most entrepreneurs that are in their late 30s, 40s don't really have anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, I appreciate it for sure. But I think it's probably impact, I think means more.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's the place where I want to get to, where it's like true, lasting, meaningful impact versus the income. Which I know people say that, but I think it's totally true. Like, because I've standardized my business. And so now that 75K runs without a lot of effort from me, like all of my effort really now day to day is kind of going into this new app.
Yeah.
So it's like, technically the money's coming in, but I don't like when I got my first brand deal with Whoop, that was like, you know, I cried, you know, because I'd never seen money like that. It allowed me to leave my job, like all that, you know, like the impact there and that feeling is much better than just 75K coming through, you know?
And you posted that on your Instagram. It's pinned up there, but it's like you were at Times Square, I think, and the Whoop thing came by. What was that?
So yeah, that was the WAP visit. So WAP had a challenge to make amount of revenue in 30 days on a brand new business. So I just opened up a new WAP and then sent a new client through it, automatically did it. And they like took care. So I had to buy the flight, but they got the hotel, they set up all the food and the planning for the 2 days we're there. And then they put our company that I launched with them on a billboard in Times Square, which is, you know, obviously really good for branding because you're paying for, you know, a minute of real estate up there, which is like, I don't know, a few $100 or whatever. But really forever now, like anytime I post and that's pinned, people can go there and see that. Like it should cost way more.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, it'll be there forever since it's on your Instagram now.
Right.
That you were on that banner thing. That's cool. Yeah, I want to kind of get into like, what are your top 3, if you had like top 3 keys to success or the things that you focus on every day? It's like delegation. You said that you don't really spend a lot of time. You don't really have to spend a lot of time in your business anymore, but you're still working around the clock. So what are like your top 3 things that you focus on in your business or on a day-to-day?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the big one is, it's delegation. But it's also making sure I'm doing physically what I love to do, which is talking with creators and like working on angles and being crafty and like making something go viral. You know, like that's so much fun for me. And now that I'm doing it with an app that I'm founder of, like that's a crazy concept. So yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that I do is that. And then I always believe, because I have the long-term horizon, like if I post daily on social media, then 5 years from now, I'll be super successful. Doesn't matter what happens. So I try to do social media posts, you know, every day. Try to do it in the morning. I consider it like sales and marketing. If I get that done early in the morning, then I can do fulfillment and stuff later in the day. So that's pretty much it. Like to break those down, I post, like I believe that's my strong suit. So I'll post. And then from there, the entire sales system is automated for like the agency stuff in my business. People DM me, the setters on my channels will like qualify them, send them to the closer will close them, onboard them. And then fulfillment is already like starting. So it's really like do the personal branding stuff, make sure that's going well. And then do the content. And then I get to work with creators and stuff for the majority of the day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember that first feeling I had when I signed that deal. And so I'm doing that with people now, like signing people to bigger deals and stuff. And it's just crazy.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you'd say you created your business around your strengths and you delegated your weaknesses?
100%.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, people were telling me like, no, when you start, you should start small, make sure you know everything. And I tried that, but me being the setter, qualifying people, me being the closer, it's like, I could just bring someone in that's just better. It just doesn't make sense for me to do it.
Yep.
It's a negative.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. I think we all have strengths, and then the weaknesses you could spend years and years trying to fix. But I actually think your weaknesses is just a matter of you're not obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Like you were obsessed. Yeah, exactly. So you're going to spend time on this thing you don't even like doing. You'll never be as good as someone that loves doing it. So you go ahead and you hire that person. Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So time management, like how do you manage your time with you're posting content, but you're also running a business, you're thinking of ideas. How do you kind of do that?
Well, every platform's different. So, I started with TikTok, and TikTok is, the goal with TikTok when I graduated college, I just had a normal sales job. Like that's it. So I was like, okay, I wanted to do basketball, didn't work out. Wanted to do gaming, didn't work out. TikTok is kind of doing well right now. I'm inspired by like Marcus Milioni, guys like that. So I'm like, let me try. So I just started posting on TikTok 3 times a day while working that sales job. Basically, my mindset is, can this video help someone, or is it for someone? Like, am I making it for the viewer to experience it? And if I am, then the video is good and I can post it. And so I use a statement hook above my head usually and auto captions under my face, and I'll just talk. That's what I would do on TikTok. Did that for a while. I don't post on TikTok anymore because I don't feel like it has a lot of brand value for what I'm doing now, and it's not the audience I want to speak to. But on Instagram, what I'll do is it's just a different format. So I'll do like a 5 or 6 second like lead magnet clip, or I'll do kind of like a talking head, but just more value based. And so I'm not trying to go viral. I'm trying to speak to my audience directly. And so all this stuff after all the reps is kind of in my head and what I want to do. And then YouTube, I was doing daily, but I think for the type of content that I put out on YouTube, it just makes more sense for it to be like weekly or monthly. So I'll do that like once or so a week per YouTube.
Cool.
What's your workflow right now? I'll ask you some questions.
Oh yeah, no, that's you're interviewing me.
Yeah, your content. What's your plan
for content?
Yeah,
it's a good question. I took a lot of advice from you, so I'm trying to make a YouTube video maybe 2-3 times a week. I think it's hard to do a full 20-minute YouTube video every day. And especially because my main thing isn't content. It's like the solar company,
right? Recruiting,
training, hiring, all that stuff. So when I think of an idea, I either write it down, or if I'm alone, I'm in a good spot, I'll just film it.
That's perfect.
Throw it on my phone. Yeah.
That's the best workflow to do. The way I see it is like you do have like, the way you carry yourself and like all these things, almost Grant Mitt. Like it's like the same exact thing, And he started when he was like 22 or something, right? Like 24.
I'm headhunting him. I don't know if I told you that. Yeah. I'm coming after Grant Mitt. He's watching this. Taking him down.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's funny. Yeah, so how do you think if you were brand new to social media and you just had the followers from high school or college, you have 5,000 followers, that's a lot. You have 1,000 followers of just people that you know, or even 700, say whatever. How do you get started? What would you do? What would you tell that person to do to go blow up?
It's this concept called Ikigai. It's a Japanese principle, and it's an intersection of these 4 things. So it's what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And so what I would do is, if you're starting social media, figure out what it is that you love, because that's the quickest path to being an expert and coming off authentic in your content. And then the second thing is like, what can you get paid for? Can you get paid for that? Or what's the way that you can get paid for that? If I love content creation, me just posting doesn't get me paid. Me doing UGC or working with brands, that will get me paid, right? And then what the world needs. Like, I think obviously every business needs content. So in my mind, it's like, find what you absolutely love, number one, and talk about that. You don't have to be a massive expert yet, but if I started playing pickleball and I'm not that good, but I love it, or I'm in a kick, then talk about it, or give value to people. It doesn't have to be like, this is the best pickleball paddle you can buy. You can do that. I started doing product reviews because I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I started. but it should be like storytelling about pickleball, or things, again, that's for someone else that's watching, so like figure out what you love, talk about that, and try to make videos to help other people about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you first started, what was the first thing you were making videos on again?
It's mostly fitness stuff.
Okay.
I started talking about more storytelling and just in general because I realized I posted 3 times a day for a year. My first year, I had like 10K followers on TikTok, which was like, I was watching people blow up, 3 months, 100K followers. So I was like, okay, this is not exactly the pace I want. How do I go quicker? And so that's when I started doing storytelling. And yeah, I mean, I blew up much quicker than that. Like my best video is storytelling about like a girl in Mexico, like kidnapping. And that got like a 20 million view video or something. Right. So I switched it up after I didn't get the results that I wanted.
Yeah. And now you're just fully business in the stuff that you do pretty much.
Yeah.
And your lifestyle. I know you post a lot about that.
Yeah. So to be honest, if I really cared about business first, I would only talk about content online. I would blast case studies. I would talk about, stories with creators. I would give value out for things that's working. All of that sort of thing. I would talk about trends in the market, whatever. It would just be strictly business with a little bit of top funnel stuff. Like, this is the car I have, like this is the business I run. I think very, very top funnel for a couple things, but the vast majority of the content would be strictly business related with really good hooks and stuff like that to make sure it's doing okay.
So that's what you would do.
Yeah. But I love posting running stuff still. So honestly, like, there's always that mix where it's like, damn, I low-key could have gone like the Marcus Milioni path if I just kept posting fitness and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's funny. Regret's a funny thing, man, because when I first got into anything, my first thing I did was drop shipping, but I like ran out of money.
Yeah.
I had like $1,000 locked up with PayPal. And I still think sometimes, man, what if that worked?
It'd be like Leo.
Yeah, it'd be like Leo. Leo's another guy who lives in our building, and he's an absolute gangster. Him and his fiance, are they married now? Don't know.
I think it's his girlfriend.
Just girlfriend. Yeah, that's right. They're girlfriend, but they're killers both on drop shipping. So
yeah, they're amazing.
So what is your plan to where you see yourself growing to in say 5 years? Like, where is Owen? Where are his brands? What is he doing?
It's a great question. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I've always had a really strong North Star, but I don't want to say I've lost it, but you get to a point where there's so many different pathways that I can go down where it's like, holy hell, like there's actually so many. Once you're in content, or like, let's say you're in solar sales, or like that might sound specific, but it's not. There's probably 1,000 different ways you can go in that industry, maybe not, I don't know. But for content, there are literally so many different ways you can go. One thing I will say that I don't want, because that feels more clear, is I don't want to be managing a ton of creators and brands, which I'm already not doing that much because I've delegated it. But I want ultimately, like, I think apps are software related to the creator industry. So I've been talking to some advisors. I almost joined this one platform called Paid. My friend Alex runs. I think it'll be a great platform, but I think there's a way to do the creator thing better than people are doing it using mass organic UGC. Maybe it's the creator rewards program, like I kind of touched on earlier. But there's something there, so I'm not entirely sure. It could just be that I run viral apps, like I am doing now, and just get more equity and continue doing that. But I don't know.
To just kind of be used as like, hey, I'm starting a startup. I know this guy, Owen. Let's give him a piece of equity to help take us to the moon.
Yeah.
That kind of, for your skill set.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So, in the future, the natural step is, okay, well, I'll own the apps and I'll manage all the teams and stuff. But there's a lot that goes into that, and I'm 26. Like when I was 24, like maybe, or 23 when I graduated college. But like, do I want to stay locked in my room managing and really getting stuff off the ground and growing like that? And I don't really know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say. But I definitely don't want to have tons of accountability on the brand and creator side,
What all sounds like Alex Hormozy with acquisition.com, where he'll take a company, usually he'll take majority ownership. So he owns it, but he didn't start from scratch. And the team's already there to kind of help. He's just there to guide them, blow them up, and then.
Does acquisition take actual majority in these companies?
I think so. I think we're taking majority. Yeah. I bet they have different deals and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they want to take majority ownership of deals.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so funny. He was actually talking about content, and he's like, we were doing business, then we tried going top of funnel and just talking about like dating and like other things, and they sprinkle that in every once in a while. But he's like, basically the vanity metrics were up, more followers, views, likes, comments, shares, saves, but there was a massive decrease in the actual things that he cared about, which were how many people were visiting the acquisition.com site from his content, like how many sales was he making, how many companies was he acquiring. And so that's when I also was like, yeah, I would do way better if I just did content UGC stuff.
That's so interesting, because I was going to ask you, like, well, don't you think people like that when you post about, I run at this time, I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't have to go to an office or whatever. But you think it's kind of like, yeah, people like it. It's broad funnel stuff, but these people aren't buying anything.
They don't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I've noticed too is I can make a post, and the people that buy it from me typically aren't commenting, or supporting me or whatever. They're usually just there. Like you don't even know that these people are buying. But what I do get is I'll get DMs. I'm not seeing these people follow me. I'm not seeing, but they'll see the content. They'll DM me. They want to work, or like they have a brand. They're like, hey, like I'd love to get creators from you. Let's hop on a call. I'm like, cool. Here's a link to my closer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just what I think in general.
Yeah. And that's really interesting. I mean, do you think about where you want to be in terms of like where I'm living, the lifestyle I'm living, or you sound like you're kind of just an impact guy? Like I don't even think about that. Yes, as I get more successful, my toys will get nicer and my house will get bigger. But yeah, do you think about that? Is that a part of your goals? Anything material?
Here's the dilemma. I've had a girlfriend now for almost a year.
Oh, I know where this is going, I think.
And so it's like when I was younger, I'm like, big house, married, able to travel, do whatever I want, bunch of kids, like all that. And then, I have a great girlfriend, but as I keep like doing this business thing and I'm understanding what's required to like keep going up, because each level is like more accountability, more hours, more stress tolerance, whatever. Like how much am I willing to sacrifice? I heard this quote and it was like, some people are willing to sacrifice a lot to get what they want. And some people will go much further than those people, and that's where it's like, do I want to be the one who sacrificed a good amount and gotten here? And, I make enough cash where I can have a good life now? Or is it like, do I want to push it and just really go for it all? And so those are different lifestyles, different outcomes, and nothing's guaranteed ultimately anyways. Yep. So that's where I'm at. I've thought about all of it, where I want to live, what I want to do. I think either path I have, I'll be able to, have a place in Finland, like where my dad's side of the family is from, rebuy one of our old cabins there on a lake because we sold it, needed the money. But, buy a place there, have a place in the mountains in California too. And then, have my place in Florida. Like I think I can do that, travel, have that. But do I really want to go for it all and like manage these companies and like go big scale it? And I'm kind of stuck in between right now. I think I could do it just because I learned how to delegate and bring really good people on, which is like, I think maybe everything. So yeah, I don't know. I think about it a lot, but I've recently been struggling with what I really want.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said that earlier where you were like, I used to have a North Star at all times, know exactly where I was going. And then things got a little confusing. And I kind of had a similar thing where like I knew when I was just in sales, I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm like, I'm going to be the best salesman in the world, sell the most. And that's what I did. Then I went into the ownership side. Now there's so many different avenues, how to like scale a company and content. Should I recruit more? Should I improve this system, that system? Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of like, you had it and then it sort of loses you for a bit and you need to find it again.
Yeah.
What's your plan on like finding that again?
Well, honestly, I was going to go to Iceland for a couple weeks and just cold plunge by myself, like no one around, just cold plunge. And then go to Lake Como in April after, like just string the trips together. So spend a lot of time in the cold, like isolated, and then go get some springtime, read my Bible, just chill over there. And then I took this position because it was too good to pass up. I mean, you get to work with this guy. And like that's the thing, is that knowledge gap. I feel like I know pretty good amount about organic. There's probably a couple people that know better than me, but those are my friends too. You know what I mean? So it's like, let me go speak with the guy who's done it successfully, and work with him. And at the end of this, or however long it takes, if I don't like it, then I know. But if I do like it, then I know, like, okay, I'm going to run up some apps.
And this is going to require a lot of your time, this thing. Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah. That's cool that you're thinking to go to Iceland, just clear everything out, kind of like a deep study set. Who was the one that did that? I think it was Bill Gates.
Did he?
And he does these, once a year, goes to a cabin and just like reads books for a week and no one talks to him, no phone, nothing, which is crazy because he's a multi-billionaire. The fact that he can just find the time to do that, maybe it is a good idea. I don't know. But
yeah, that's what I was thinking. And the sauna, cold plunge, that's the thing with Tampa. There's not really a really good cold plunge sauna. Like, the Gold's is not that good. The sauna's just too weak.
Is that where you go? Gold? Yeah, I just signed up yesterday.
Yeah, it's great for lifting and stuff, but I also don't care that much about lifting. Like, I want to be like lean and in shape and run and be strong, but I don't want to be huge, or I don't need to be 6% body fat, you know?
Yeah. That's crazy. That's like impossible to maintain all year.
Yeah.
Do you ever try the Covery right near there?
Yeah, on Water Street, or
yeah, it's right on
Channelside Drive.
Channelside, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to, but one of my friends told me the sauna is still infrared.
Yeah, the sauna's not good, but they have a cold plunge.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I still could go to Gold's cold plunge, but
where'd you make your own on the balcony?
Yeah, but I need the sauna. Like, I want like traditional wood fire sauna. I pour water on it. I feel like I want to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just super hot.
So you need both, cold plunge, sauna.
Need both. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to Iceland or Finland and we'll get to work.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So in the Heron, there's a lot of people that are massively successful. And one thing I've noticed is a lot of them had tough hardship when they were young. And these might be people, when you look at them and you think, okay, that guy came from good parents, like all this stuff. But when you actually talk to them, like, yeah, no, like my mom died when I was 6 or 10 or whatever, or someone else could be like, yeah, my dad died, disease. Like, they go through immense struggle, and then it almost just forces them into this path. Like, how much do you think it is natural? Like, oh, I want this because I want it, or how much do you think it is just like your environment causes you to go that way?
Yeah, like a negative thing happening to you. I think you're right. I think like every successful person that wasn't just kind of like handed it to them is they had some sort of traumatic thing happen.
Yeah,
almost all of them. But I'm curious if like normal people also had something traumatic. I think we all, growing up, you're meant to have something bad happen to you. It's just going to happen. But I wonder if they're just turning it into something and other people's are not. But yeah, I think every successful person has that like dark thing that happened. What do you think yours is, if you want to share it?
I honestly think I just was super fortunate to be in my shoes, because like my brother had autism and Down syndrome, right? And so, I go to my Little League game, my parents supposed to be there, and then like my brother has a problem, so then they can't come. And I feel like you could be like, damn, like my parents aren't making time for me, whatever. But I was like, how lucky am I that I get to play baseball, and not complain about the food I eat. I'm able to like listen and talk to people. I'm able to run around. So I think that's what it was for me. It was like, I'm super fortunate. I'm not going to throw this away.
Yeah, that's sweet. What about you? It's interesting because like your parents couldn't make it to all the games and stuff like that.
They would try, but like if my brother had a tantrum or anything like that, it's just like,
yeah. No, it's really interesting because I had a different situation where my parents, they're still together today. They'll probably die together. They're just, I'm very lucky to have that. They're some of the best parents I think that ever existed. And that's where my benefit came from, where they're still together. They went to every single sports game, and I would be like riding the bench and they would still come. I'd be injured. I'd be like, guys, don't come 45 minutes away, like leave work early to make it here. They would always come. So I was super lucky for that. Like, we didn't have money. There's nobody in the family that knew how to make money or had money or anything like that. I had an uncle that worked, he was like president of a electric boat. I may be getting that wrong. It was either Electric Boat or General Electric, one of the two. But he was very wealthy, but I never met him. So we never met him. We were just very middle class. Mom raised my stepbrother in the hood, basically.
Their parents were divorced?
No, they were together, but my mom had one son. My brother's 16 years older than me.
Okay, got it.
My stepbrother. And that guy, his dad went to jail, that whole thing. So she had it tough and they figured it out. But so I had a very different situation with that. And then I think the tough time that I went through, though, was like in school being overweight. So I was like really overweight.
You were overweight?
I was way overweight,
No
dude.
way.
I was this weight when I was 12.
That's crazy.
So I was like 5'6" or something, 210 pounds, like all
Dude,
that.
no way. Dude.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So I get picked on. I get picked on by people that should not be picking on anybody. Like it was not good. But they were there. It's almost like if all those things one day, like you can almost have too bad of an experience where also your parents say, they're mean or they're like abusive or something. One of them's an alcoholic. And you're getting picked on at school. That's when you might go down like a bad path.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a mixture of having enough pain, but then enough support or something to help you get where you.
Was your mom like really supportive, like in general, like huge confidence in you and stuff like that?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Huge. Like everything that I would do, she would co-sign on it. Even when I dropped out of college, she's like, I trust it.
Yeah. My mom's the same way, dude. And I could switch it up. Like I'll be like, I have a tough decision. Like I think I'm gonna stay with it. And she'd be like, okay, sounds good. You got this. And then like the next week you're like, nah, I ended up leaving. And then she'd be like, I'm probably there for a stick. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It helped a ton because it felt like, all right, no matter what happens, I'm gonna have support for sure.
It's definitely nice to know that even if I jump off a cliff, fail terribly, your mom's gonna be there for you or your parents.
Yeah.
Is that who you're closest with now?
Yeah. I mean, my mom, huge sacrifice that she made. Like basically her whole life. My brother's 31. He's gonna turn 32. And she had him when she was 21. So like at 21, you go from dude, you talk to 21-year-old girls all the time. Like imagine them having that life and then switching to now you're accountable for a baby with autism and Down syndrome, and taking care of them fully. Like your life completely changes. And she's been like that her entire adult life, basically. And then on top of that, taking care of me, trying to work a job to provide for me. So that was also the pressure. It's like my brother couldn't do it because he's disabled. I have very fortunate, life that I can try to do something to try to pay back the 30 years of my mom doing this.
Is that part of your goal, is like help the parents out once we
percent?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, so the pathway is like jet ski for mom. Nice. She lives on the East Coast of Florida, and then I actually probably should have caught that already. And then we've been talking about cars so I want to get her a car, and then a home somewhere. Like she's like, I don't need a home. Like I'm good. I'm like, I think I might be able to get you.
Is she like renting right now?
No, so she got remarried. And so my mom and dad broke up, they were divorced, and there was a second marriage. That one went really bad. And then she got remarried third time, final time, married 16 years, to my stepdad, who's a really good guy, So they lived together on the East Coast near St. Augustine.
Yeah. How'd you guys end up out in Florida?
I mean, so when I was doing the gaming thing in California, I basically was like, well, it doesn't matter where I go to school now because I can't play basketball. So my mom had already left California and gone to South Carolina, and they were living out there because like California was going to trash, So they went and got a lake house out there, cheaper than living in the suburbs in California. So did that. And then they're residents in South Carolina. So I was like, well, where should I go to school? Like, it doesn't really matter. So I just applied to Clemson. It was like the only school that I applied to. And then I got in and I transferred in after my second year at junior college. And then,
You must have had pretty good grades then, getting to Clemson from out of state.
I think if you transfer in after 2 years of junior college, it's
junior college for Clemson. It's like a satellite.
So junior college is like, community college. Yeah. So I was doing that in California.
Okay.
And then I just transferred in after.
Oh, I think undergraduate's harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so getting in right away, it would be hard. I wouldn't have done it. But after junior college, it's easier. Plus I was out of state when I applied, but then I actually got in-state residency. So it's cheaper.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm really interested. I like this podcast and the people I want to bring on is because they're young people that have, figured out how to become successful.
Dude, I honestly don't think, figure it out, I don't think is like every day I'm learning, like always, you know. A lot of the people that haven't figured it out, I feel like, are the people that have massive egos and are like, oh no, I'm just gonna do it this way. And it's like, it's not working for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, you think of most people that are 26, if you were to take the average, like, and you turn it into one person, he's either working at like a restaurant, or maybe he's in the corporate world doing what, 50, 60,000, maybe 70 a year, something like that. But that's W-2, that's before taxes, right? So they're taking home almost nothing, like
Maybe 4K.
right. You know, you can't survive. I don't believe you can survive off that right now. Definitely your standard of life is going to be low. So I just feel like the difference between people that, you know, achieve and don't is actually like there's a massive difference there. But like, there's just such a difference in life. Like I feel like it's a mindset of abundance, of there is plenty out there. I don't need to be stingy and just work 9 to 5, 5 days a week and just only have enough for my groceries, gas, rent, nothing left.
And you're still putting stuff on the credit card.
Right. Yeah. And you're going into debt.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the other group is taking risks. They could make, you know, you and I could potentially lose everything tomorrow, literally everything, all sources of income. They still got mom, but like, you know, you could lose everything tomorrow. And yet, since you live in this abundance, you don't have to worry about groceries or, you know, the car payment or anything like that. So yeah, I just always wonder where that gap sort of comes from.
I think the big thing is when, like, I was going to give it a go, and if I failed miserably, then like, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't, failing miserably would be like exactly where I was. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, if I go back to a job, okay, you know, after 5 years or 10 years of the job, I'll be making 150, 200K a year, whatever. You know, I can still always go back to that. But if I do this, then I can pretty much have anything I want, you know? And honestly, one of the most underrated things, like, isn't the car or where we live. It's the fact that I can, you know, get steaks daily.
Yeah, not yet.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel way better just eating steaks and fruit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my diet mostly. Because I was like, all right, well, I can't get a steak this day. It's too expensive. You know, I can do chicken. So like, I'll get chicken from Costco, freeze it, and thaw it out. And it's like, now I just literally go down our elevator and go to Publix and get steaks. Like, it's that sort of thing that I think makes a huge difference. And like, part of the reason I'm leaning out again, because I'm just eating steaks and I'm, you know, and I have a good gym membership. And it's like, your quality of life goes up once you go through that period of hell.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. You don't have to be stingy about the things that you want. Like, I don't think, you know, we live in America, obviously the land of the free, but you're not really free until you can, you know, pay for a bill at a restaurant without looking at it and stressing out. Yeah. Like, I'm so obsessed with this idea, because I think if I hadn't figured out entrepreneurship, I probably would be living with the parents. I'd probably be a cop or like a firefighter or something like that. And that would be me. It'd be like, I can't take the girlfriend out to dinner.
You look like a cop.
Yeah, I know. Everybody says that, right? My brother's a firefighter, so like, probably would have gone down that way. But hey, like, you can't order that off the menu. Like, we can't. I can't do that. You know, that's not freedom to me. Like, we should be able to do the things we want. Obviously, there's more out there. Like, I'd love to buy Jeff Bezos's yacht. Not there yet, but yeah, just the simple things, like you said, being able to buy steak. I mean, how much does it stink that you can't buy the steak you want? So yeah,
it's a lot of mental stuff too. You know, telling yourself that, like, it's almost so. This is kind of weird. Jordan Peterson had his 12 Rules to Life book, and he talks about the lobster, and like, lobsters, if they fight each other and one loses, that one's testosterone like goes down, or like serotonin goes down, I think it was. Basically, that thought of loss like makes you like worse, and then it perpetuates. It's like a downward spiral. Like, the next fight they lose, versus like the one that won, it gets a boost, and it starts being better and better versus other ones. And I think it's very much like that. Like, if you have reminders in your life daily, like, I can't buy that, I can't do this, it's so hard to break out of it, and that's your entire worldview. But if you're like, I could buy the steaks, I could take the girl out, like, whatever, you know, I'll buy the $500 water thing for my apartment. It doesn't, you know, it's like, does it make me better? It's like, yes, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an upward spiral, because you're just slightly gamifying and making everything better in your life.
Yeah. So you're advocating we just fight people and just try to win, You just keep fighting and winning.
Yeah, like I feel like if I go play pickleball, I should try to be this person, you know, because if I let up or I lose, then it's actually a negative impact on like my psyche, my testosterone, my hormones, like all of that. It's actually deeply tied together.
That's interesting.
And I know it's funny, but at the same time, like if I play my friend as a professional, he's gonna kick my ass. It's fine. Then make sure your win isn't like what you learned.
Right.
Thank God
You could find a win out of that.
Yeah, like try to find wins no matter what.
So would you say, well, then wouldn't someone argue, well, then why even play the game? Because I could get beat. What if I don't play the game? I can't lose.
Well, you won't be tested. You got to test, you know, you can study all year long. You can be an expert. Like that's the thing with college. Just so many people are like experts, or they get this facade and they're smart. And it's like, okay, well, what have you built? You know, like what's your company valued at? You know, how much do you literally have liquid in your bank account right now? And if you don't go through those tests, then, you know, it doesn't actually matter.
100%. They're playing a game they can't really lose.
Right.
They'll never lose.
So then they feel protected, and they can sit and tweet and do all these things, but it's like you haven't done anything.
That's very true. So they stand up at the same lecture stage every year and they give the same speech. They can't lose.
Can't lose.
And
Check's
they
coming.
Yeah, and then they make judgment on you know, people that are in the arena. It's like the man in the arena quote. Like, you know, the critics, they're always critiquing, but it's really about the man in the arena doing the fighting, bleeding. So you would say it's fair to say that it's worth taking losses because it eventually leads to like success.
Yeah, as long as you have an idea of a North Star,
Right.
You know, doesn't have to be super clear, but you know, for me, like having that idea has been so if something goes wrong, or like, you know, when you start out in business, like you're going to lose a client here and there because you're not perfect. And I'd be like, all right, well, that's fine. I'll take that loss, you know, in order to like learn from this and just move towards that North Star.
Yeah, you're right. But if you don't have a plan and like a North Star, then you might be wasting your time kind of going in circles.
Yeah. I mean, funny thing with plans too, like I actually, you know, I consult social media. I'm like, yeah, man, so your posts are actually good. You know, you just started your account, but it's actually going to take a month for the account to warm up. You should look at the search terms and interact, but it'll take a month or so. And then after that, like we can teeter it a little bit. And they're like, but what if I want to like grow now? I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like you are growing now. You won't see it for a couple months, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't willing to like wait or be patient.
Yeah. How long have you been doing solar?
I've been in solar for over 5 years.
Okay. That 5-year thing is almost a rule. Pretty much everyone I've talked to is like, you know, at the Heron, they're like, oh yeah, I've been running the agency for 5 years. I've been like Leo, I've been doing drop shipping for 7 years. It's like, oh, so it actually just takes 5 years plus to become a proficient expert, which is probably somewhere in line with the 10,000 hour rule with like Malcolm Gladwell's book or the Outliers. But I think if you put 10,000, like as time passes, if you work at a job, you're going to have 5 years in something. But if you don't absolutely love it, then you're out of time.
I completely agree. There's like a lot of the people we're talking about are young people. Like that's what I like to talk about. I mean, it's also the age range that I recruit into my company. These are young people that I want to see become successful. So that's what I like to talk about. You know, if you're we all see people that are more successful than us, but if they're 40, 50, I can't give them quite the same credit as someone like you, who's literally any other 26-year-old you talk to is probably on average working at a restaurant making like 50 something a year.
I guess on average, but you know, we don't, you know, that proximal distribution chart, we don't really care about within a standard deviation or even two. It's like if I'm playing this game and I want to buy the Turbo S, then I need to be at the very forefront, which means I can only get there by doing something I really care about. And the other thing is success is like, sure, compared to other 26-year-olds, but yeah, don't compare yourself. There's no point. If you compare yourself to people doing worse than you, then you'll take your foot off the gas. And if you compare yourself to someone doing better than you, then you'll probably just realize, you know, they just have done more over a longer time period.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't even matter. So it's more like, what can you do day to day? And the other thing is, I had a lot of help too. Like, you know, with sacrifices my mom made, my dad trying, you know, and showing me things. Like maybe my dad didn't have a lot of money or run a company when he was younger with me, but he would take me to a Laker game or have me sit down and watch like Kobe Bryant. And then there was times my dad would go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. So it's stuff like that where I was like, oh, that's what it takes, you know, like, so, you know, all these people were trying to help me just in like their own ways. So I feel like you know, you're in control of things when there's so many things that happen. For instance, me becoming co-founder of this app, does that happen by me reaching out to them or me pushing that? It's like, no, they have to find me. Woot found me. And it's like, you can create your luck, I guess, by doing those things. But at the end of the day, the success is going to come from like what people, like how the universe responds. It'll almost like fold. I believe if you post 3 times a day for a year, like the world will just curve to whatever you want. It's like, it's too much pressure and too high leverage for the world not to go in your favor.
Yeah, you're putting too much, like it's like water on the rock. Like over hundreds of years, it'll crack.
Yeah, so it's like perseverance.
Yeah, but I think you were given, your dad, showed you some Lakers games, Kobe. He went to the gym and kind of showed you how to, be responsible and all that stuff. But you decided to take that, turn it into something. I think a lot of people have that and they don't turn it into anything.
Then maybe it's just, like our moms, like trying to help us more, confident, supportive. Like I remember when I sat down with my mom, she was talking to me, I was like 10 or something. She's like, hey, I think I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to try to get like a license or a certification at the University of Southern California, USC. And so she sat me down, I was like 10, and she had this conversation with me. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, then do it. And she's like, okay, but I may have less time here. We may have a nanny some days. And I was like, no, Mom, like if you want to do it, do this. And so we were having like that conversation at like a higher level when you're young. So I think things like that, like really, kind of just prep you and give you like, and so she would do the same thing with me if I had questions. So we just have like actual conversations versus I feel like a lot of families don't have that. And so maybe other 26-year-olds are just waiting to catch up until they have that like self-belief and support.
Yeah. No, I can literally, that is awesome. I remember my mom she would have us do accounting on everything. So I had a book. She gave me this book.
Yeah, bro. I mean, come on.
It's awesome. So it's like every time they give me like, I remember at one point they were doing $10 a month for us as allowance. And whenever we spent it, we had to write what we spent it on, how much it was. Every time we got more money in, we'd have to write it down. And that, I still remember that to this day. I think it just kind of created a habit of, hey, look, this money stuff is important, whereas schools don't teach you that. They just teach you general education that really doesn't lead to money at all. And we talk a lot about money. I don't want to seem like I'm like greedy and money's all I care about, but it is important. It's very important.
Yeah. And people get it mixed up. Like when I started posting on social media, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have the followers and then I'm gonna make money from having the followers. And it's like, no, you get money from providing value in business. Yep. So it's like, okay, well, I'm either gonna drive traffic to a product or make my own business with the skill set of content. But it's interesting you say that about bookkeeping. Do you ever like read autobiographies or podcasts or anything?
Yeah.
There's one called Founders, and they have an autobiography on Rockefeller. And his first job ever was a bookkeeper. And he loved it so much, like the idea of getting his first job, that he called it Workday and celebrated it as a holiday for himself. Like every time that day would come around, he's like, this is the day I got my first job, But it was just bookkeeping. And of course, because his books were so good, he was able to take over the entire oil industry at 25. He'd go to his competitors and he'd be like, I want to buy it. And they're like, we're competing. You can't buy me. He'd be like, these are my books. I'm going to beat you. And they're like, okay. And then he took the biggest one and then all the other ones fell after that, just because of his bookkeeping.
Because he had such good bookkeeping. That's awesome. Well, unfortunately, it didn't carry to today. I'm not good at keeping books anymore, but that's awesome. I did read that too. And yeah, he always talked about the bookkeeping. And he was the guy that was like, bars are the devil's playground. Was that him?
Yeah.
I think that was him.
Maybe. Gosh,
either him or Carnegie.
Yeah.
The two.
I'm not sure. But there's this thing called like Churchillian drift, where people will misattribute quotes to Winston Churchill. And it's kind of like the same thing with the Rockefeller, but Rockefellian drift. But
Rockefellian drift.
The thing is with Rockefeller, and I think about this too, is his right-hand guy was Henry Flagler. And Flagler ended up being, super wealthy and built the east coast of Florida with hotels and trains and all that in the late 1800s all the way down through Florida. And, he wasn't the main guy. Like Standard Oil was Rockefeller's company. Like that's what we know it for. But Henry Flagler was, billions and billions of dollars in money back then. You know what I mean? So it's like a number two or number three can actually have that impact too. as long as it's like the right role, and these guys are driven and obsessed with what each of their roles are.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my mindset is like, am I the CEO or am I the CMO? I don't know if CEO is perfect for me, but I do know I love the CMO stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of.
Yeah. I heard a quote. It's like, if you're willing to not take the credit, like you can be as wealthy as you want to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Steve Ballmer, these kind of like secondary guys. I'm trying to think of who else, but they helped grow something massively, and they just weren't the face of it, but they became wealthy. You know,
There's a lot of guys like that in social media right now. And so, yeah, I mean, it's almost that, what is that? Like, never don't outshine the master kind of thing. You give credit to someone else, like things will be good.
Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know.
Yeah, the more you can, it reminds me of something too. Like when you're hiring, trying to not worrying about you always being better than them. Like when we talk about ego in business, I think for a while I struggled with that. I'm like, well, I'm the best salesman ever. And so I go start a company. I'm like, I'm going to be the best salesman in this company. If I never hire someone that's better than me at sales, that means I'm not doing a good job as a business owner.
Right.
So we recently brought on this guy who's selling my socks. He's a killer. I can't believe it. Like he's a beast. Brought him on from the car industry. And at first I'm like, man, these guys they might be better than you. I was like,
I got to get back in the game.
I was like, no, I'm still better than them. Like they just got this and that. And no, I've just said like, well, good for me. You know, I found a guy who was
good for you.
So good at sales. He's better than me. So
yeah, there's a hiring thing. I have a venture capitalist friend in California. He has 2 homes on the peninsula in Newport Beach, and they rent them for like $60K a month each. And so it's like wealthy guy. And he was telling me, like, when you're hiring, you want to make sure that, you know, almost like a relationship, the person has to be better than you. Like, why are you hiring someone that's not better than you? And whatever you're hiring for, like, they need to be improving that part of the business. They need to see it, be like, no, this is what we should do. Or like, this is the sales script I use or whatever. You know, like, literally go get someone better than you. Otherwise, like, don't.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Hormozy says if they're not able to teach you something on their interview, then they shouldn't be. Like if you're hiring a bookkeeper, if you can't teach me something on that interview about bookkeeping, why would I hire you? If I know more than you about the role that I'm hiring you for, why would I hire you?
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Yeah, and that's why, you know, when I got into online business and I was running the sales calls and stuff, I was like, bro, I am not, like, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And I went and got the closer, and they literally like redid the sales scripts. The close rate went up like 20%. I was like, bro, no way.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing?
That's so interesting to me. Like, cause like I say, we each have our own strengths where like, if I needed a social media guidance, I would go to you. You'd probably 10X my social media. And then like, you know, sales is something I've done for years and it's all I've done. So it goes back to like, what are you passionate about? What's the thing that you're obsessed with? You'll probably never be better than that guy if you're not obsessed with that thing. Even if, I mean, we have salesmen that have been here. So I hear about this all the time. We'll hire people from a car dealership and they'll say, yeah, I came in when I was 20 years old. There were all these salesmen that have been there for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. I came in and smoked them all by like 5X my first month. The whole first year I became employee of the year, smoking all these guys that have been here for decades. And it's
Crazy.
like, yeah, it's like, so there's some people that are just going through life in slow motion. They're just going through the motions. But there's people that just, they're obsessed. Like they want to be the best.
Yeah. And the other thing is you're born with just advantages in certain areas. Like there's no reason I should be in the same profession as LeBron. You know, and people forget that. It's like, it may not be as stark of a comparison as that, but it's 100% true. Like we're all born with things and maybe you can't see them like as bold as that, but like and if you lean into what you really love, then like that will become more clear over time.
I agree. Well, man, I think that was a good podcast. And tell the people where they can find you, all your channels and stuff like that.
Yeah, find me at Owen Nurminen on Instagram and TikTok. So yeah, I mean, find me there.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, this is Sean and Owen.
Sean, appreciate it. Thank you.
Signing off. Later. To the moon. Just keep saying like it. Endings are